And even with stocks near record highs, Goldman out with a new note today arguing, quote, we are in the early stages of a new bull market, transitioning from the hope phase to a longer growth phase. So how much higher could stocks go, and what might you consider buying? Joining us now, Greg Branch, managing partner at Veritas Financial Group, and Rebecca Felton, senior market strategist at Riverfront Investment Group. I want to get to your broad thoughts on the market and where we go from here, and your economic thoughts. But Rebecca, I want to start with you because something caught my eye in my note about the retail investor vis-a-vis the GameStop phenomenon. And if I'm reading my note correctly, the more retail investors in the market, you say, the better. There's too much cash on the sidelines. And the GameStop phenomenon could be the start of a positive long-term trend if people continue investing. It could also be a disaster, couldn't it, Rebecca?
Well, thank you so much for having me on today. I think one of the things you have to take a look at over the last several years, we have seen money pouring into bond funds. And to have this shift of perhaps the retail investor moving into equities, you know, we're all looking for better total return vehicles than what we have seen out of bonds over the last several years. And as you know, we are pro-equity. So we think that this is something that could fuel this next leg higher as we see more and more money come off the sidelines out of that flow into bond funds and move into equity. So we're still constructive.
I guess what I'm driving at, Rebecca, and I don't mean to sandbag you right out of the gate at all, is the idea that I don't think anybody would disagree that it makes sense for people to move out of bonds at these low interest rates and into something that's higher up the risk curve. But when you get into something like following Reddit trades on the collection of stocks that have been a part of it, aren't you getting into a speculative zone as opposed to an investing zone? Well, I mean, when you think about it, you and I are retail investors, right? So while it may not be the platform of choice for you or for me, obviously everyone has their own risk tolerance and their own way of going about it. We are all about planning and process, but I'm not going to say that it's bad for someone else.
Okay. Greg, I'm curious what your take is on the market here, with the Nasdaq back at a record high, the S&P moving close to a record high as well. I mean, we saw that big kind of de-risking event that happened last week in the midst of the GameStop and Reddit phenomenon, if you will. I mean, was that shakeout it, or do you expect that we could see a bigger pullback or bigger correction here?
Right. I think we're in a tricky spot, right? The call was pretty easy 3, 4, 5 months ago when we looked at the valuation disparity between value and growth at a historical level, when we looked at market breadth being historically narrow, and when we looked at the fact that earnings for 2021, earnings growth was forecast to be much faster.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.